Beauvoir was built by a fellow named James Brown, who had plantations up in the Delta. This was sort of his coastal retreat. He came down before the American Civil War and basically built this property. He had an orange orchard here, and his original title for it was Orange Grove. Ultimately, it came into the possession of a very famous writer in Mississippi who was a very close friend of Jefferson Davis, and she offered to him to come and stay as her guest to begin writing his memoirs. And so he did. We have two cottages that flank the home. They were built at the same time the home was built. And he took up residency in the farthest east cottage and wrote his memoirs there, The Rise and Fall of the Confederacy. Basically, then he fell in love with the place and began negotiations with her to purchase it, and ultimately made one payment, and then she got sick and passed on and left it to him in her will. So at that point he moved from the library cottage into the main home and lived here about 12 years until he passed on himself. Then Verena, his widow, stayed for some time afterwards, and at that time she left the property to the Mississippi Sons of Confederate Veterans in order to have them take care of the older veterans who were aging at that time. The old soldiers were here for about 50 years, from the turn of the century into the 1950s. The last of them passed on, and then there were 3 widows still living here. They were moved out to a nursing home, were fairly aged themselves, and then at that point we opened it to the public as a museum. Many people come to see the beautiful architecture of the home itself and of that style, up on, with wraparound porches and a beautiful view of the coast. I'm sure some people are aware of the history of the property. They come here. We have a beautiful museum and tell the story of the building of the house and of the various owners and of Jefferson Davis's stay here. So there's a lot of things to see. You could spend all day here easily.